Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk. I'm Heidi Smith. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator based in the United Kingdom, and today I'm sharing with you a variation on the spanner card using the beautiful new online exclusive Irresistible blooms. Now, the spanner card's been around a long time, so I don't know who was the originator of it, but it's a great fun card because it gives you the opportunity to keep your sort of message hidden whilst the card's on display, whilst having a lovely sort of floating element. And you'll see here what I've actually done is I've used some of our lovely brushed metallic rose gold paper to sort of span the bridge, and you've got this beautiful flower, and then lift up the card, there's your centre panel, and then underneath you could write a sentiment, whereas it can easily be displayed and have a lovely sentiment, but you can keep your message hidden. So that's what I'm doing today. Obviously it stands up, you can see you can have it with the panel in the middle, so it'll stand like that, or you can tuck that back to give that floating element as well. And the Irresistible blooms, I have used a couple of bits from this, as you can see. So I've used the lovely flowers and leaves. I haven't used the sentiments. I often leave those off till the very end. And then I've used this lovely sort of bar element that we've got here. And you've also got this super one to cut an aperture. But that's the stamp and die set. Online exclusive, that means it's not in a catalogue. So it's only available online, and it's one while stocks last. The paper is one I think is well worth getting, and we have got some returning colours in there. So we've got the lovely Pretty Peacock, which you can see here. You've also got Lost Lagoon as well, which I haven't got left, so I shall have to replenish that when it's available. And this is the paper. It's 6x6, double-sided as always, and you've got super patterns. This echoes the die. That's there, lovely soft sort of Daffodil Delight petal pink. We've got some soft sea foam, the Pretty Peacock in there, super leaves, and on the back this lovely watercolour effect. And then you've got sheets like this where the dies will cut out the flowers, so you can fussy cut these if you wanted to, but if you want these lovely extra dies, then it's well worth getting the dies to go with it. Again, another sheet of leaves, and you've got dies to cut all of those out. I think this one's beautiful, one of my favourite pieces. I love this background as well. Other colours, you've got Flirty Flamingo in there. Say soft sea foam is sort of the paler green that you've got, lovely ink splatters. That's going towards our Pretty Peacock again. And again on the background you've got lovely those super lines with dotted lines. Another page of flowers, so again slightly different colour tones there, and then the background, and I love the background on that, so actually I might have to just recreate those flowers. A more unusual colour combination here, and again another page of leaves, so lots of options with the papers, and 6x6 48 sheets in a pack. So as I've said, I used the brushed metallic foil on these, so I'm kind of in a space of trying to use up some of my stash. And so what I thought I'd do actually is use some of my leftover, I've got some Blushing Bride glimmer sheets, so I thought those would go really well with some of the pinks. So I've die cut one already, and I've got a second one here. Being glimmer sheets, you put them through a couple of times, and then use your brush or the end of your take your pick tool to remove that from the die. And then being a straight die, just make sure you try and angle it rather than put it through straight, because that'll help resist any curving. Just remove the rest of those pieces. Now this is one, I did try it with self-adhesive sheet for another project, but I found that actually it made it actually almost a little bit too fiddly. So I've kind of gone with this one where, because it's suspended, we don't want any adhesive on the back, so I'm just going to lay it across and hold it in place with those side panels. So those are my two elements there. I'm going to get on with my flowers next. So I've got a scrap of basic white here, and I'm going to go first of some pinks and greens. So I'm going to go for, I've got some Daffodil Delight ink and some Petal Pink. So I'm going to stamp first of all in my Daffodil Delight. Actually, yeah, I'm going to do 2 of the smaller ones. So those are my flowers. I'm going to also stamp on the inside panel. So I've got a piece for the inside here, which is just 14 by 10 centimetres. So I'm actually going to, I'll stamp off with those. Just to take it a little bit lighter. And then let's come in with my leaves. And some soft sea foam. So I'm going to just stamp the leaves a couple of times there, ready for me to die cut out. I'm going to add some leaves in here as well. I'll do something to cover up that smut I've created in the middle there as well. Right. So that's going to be my inside panel, so I can pop that to one side. And then the dies, as I said, you've got dies to cut out the flowers. You've got dies to cut out those leaves. And you've also got some lovely accent dies to cut out some detailed leaves as well. So those are another option for sort of decoration. And then, as I usually do, I put a dot on the top just to help make it easier for me to line up. I just pop a little bit of tape on those because I know that with mine they tend to move about when I put them through my die cutting machine. So I want to make sure that I just hold those in place. And this post-it note tape, or a bit of post-it note, I tend not to use washi tape. Because I do find that that tends to tear my cardstock a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut these. So pop them through. Now these will go through, all of them except the large circle will go through your mini cut and emboss. So if you're on the go, you can make this project. If you want to use the Okay, so now we've die cut all of our elements out, and what I want to do is add some colour to these. So my kind of yellow rose, I'm just going to get a scrap of paper here. I've got my pink blending brush, and I'm just going to come in and just add a little bit of colour to the background here. Now being petal pink, it is quite pale. I'm just wondering whether I might do better with a bit of Flirty Flamingo actually. I think let's give it a go. Yes, that's better. So I'm just kind of getting this, just a hint of kind of colour in those. So if you have a look with the comparison, it just brightens it slightly and gives us just a slightly different effect. And it's closer to the effect we've got from the paper. Yeah. And you could always add a little bit of yellow if you wanted to on that, to create another layer of added interest. Or what I have done on some of my other projects is I've actually used the splatter stamp that we've got to then go over and add a little bit of interest to that. So just to create a bit more sort of texture, and that gives me an idea of what I'm going to do to cover up that mess I made of the inside of my card. So if you remember, my inside of my card, I'd created a bit of I'd added a fingerprint. So what I'm going to do is just add some of my ink splats over there, just to kind of cover up. There we go. And I'm almost stamping off twice there. You could use So Saffron if you wanted to get a light, if you've got So Saffron, but obviously stamping off Daffodil Delight gives us that lighter shade. And as I say, Daffodil Delight is the colour that's in the DSP itself, but I've actually gone for that lighter So Saffron for my card base. So I've created a card base which is a standard 14.5 by 21 centimetres, and I've just scored that in half. And once you've scored it and reinforced it, you want to pop it in your trimmer at 3.5 centimetres on the right hand side there, and then just run your cutting blade up to that score line. There we go, like so. Flip it around and come in from the top or from the middle upwards. Again, just want to come right to that score line, like so, and that creates the start of our spanner fold. You're going to want some layers, so I thought I'd go with some of the petal pink, and I want a layer then that is 3 centimetres by 10 centimetres. So what I'm actually going to do is cut this. No, I'll just do this one first. So I'm going to do 2 at 3 centimetres, and I'll trim them down to 10 in a minute. And the next piece that I want for the middle is actually 7 centimetres. So I'm going to trim that one down to 7 by 10. That's going to be for my middle. And then these two pieces I'm going to trim down to 10, and those are for each of the sides. Now these pieces, you might think, oh, that's wasteful. They won't go to waste. I'll use them for die cutting, or I'll use them for adding a layer at another time as well. The other piece that you're going to want to cut is for our sort of spanner, and that's 3 centimetres by 13.5 centimetres. And then finally, we want some DSP. So the DSP I want is going to be 9.5 centimetres. And this is one of my sort of offcuts, having made a card front. So I always keep them. And then I'm going to cut 2 of those at 2.5 centimetres. So to do that, I'm actually going to trim it to 5 centimetres first. And then just cut down the middle at 2.5. Like so those are going to layer onto our petal pink. You can see, which will then go onto our card. And then finally, the last bit we need is the piece of the middle. And this is one of the ones where you can cut the leaves out. And you want this one to be 6.5 by 9.5. So I'm going to just cut this to 9.5 first. And then trim it to 6.5. So that's all our bits and pieces cut. So a simple card that this is, really easy. I'm going to use my Tombow for this, and the first thing I'm going to do is actually add my sort of bar across the middle, and that's just coming up about 1 centimetre up off the bottom of the card. Maybe 1.5 centimetres, actually stuck close to 1/2 inch probably. And that will just allow enough space for me to pop these across. Now, as you can see, they are wider than I need. So all I'm going to do is just trim a little bit off the end there. I felt it was easier to do it this way than to actually cut it. It just meant that it came out of the die more easily. So you just want to make sure that you've got a piece. I mean, these are about 4.5, so about 12 centimetres or so. And then I'm just going to pop those across the middle there. And again, this is one where actually it was easier to use some of my Seal Plus to put these in place. So I'm just running some Seal Plus. She says, just get that a little bit. There we go. I haven't come all the way to the top and I haven't come all the way to the edge because I want to make sure that those don't poke out of the top when I've got my layers on. And I'm again just going to add those across. And then the Seal Plus really holds those down well in place, which means I can then come in with my next 2 layers, which I am going to use Tombow for. There we go. To just pop that in place. You can see that just, and the Tombow glues well to that glitter cardstock. Just make sure you're quite sort of generous in your usage on there. Like so. And just press that down for a moment because that will enable the glue to kind of settle between those bits of glitter cardstock. And that then becomes quite sturdy. These on their own are not particularly strong, so you just want to make sure. I'm just going to add a little bit more adhesive to the underside there. There we go. Don't want your card falling apart. And I've just realised what I've done. Okay, so what I should have done is kept that piece underneath, so I'm going to have to very quickly correct that. All I've done is just lifted that up and fed the card back through the middle there. So now we can just add our layers of DSP onto the top there. Go. The same on the other side. Now with that centrepiece, there we go, just pop that there. Okay, so that's what you should be, that's how you should be creating it. Pop those down first. Then you can add your layer of DSP to the middle. And all of a sudden that sort of brings it, oh no, don't do that. Dear me, not doing very well today. There we go. Add it to your card. And then you'll get that lovely effect in the centre there with that background. And then to really bring it to life, you'll find this is where we can add our flowers. And those of you who watch me will know that I don't like a flat flower. So I'm just going to shape these using my bone folder, create a little bit of more dimension to them. And I'm just curving them very gently in a couple of directions so that they curve a little bit more naturally as flowers would. I'm going to do the same with my leaves. And then I'm going to come in with some dimensionals. I'm going to use my large dimensionals in the centre of these flowers. And that I'm just making sure that my dimensional goes onto my centre bar as well. So if you wanted to, you could actually add your dimensional to the bar and then pop your flower on. And I'm just tucking that underneath. And this is why I didn't decorate the bar itself, because it's going to be covered by by these leaves. So again, just pop a dimensional underneath there, and that can then sit like so. And then I'm just going to bring my next flower, and with this one I am going to pop my dimensional onto my card first, because I want to make sure I don't come over the edge and stick it to my to the inside part of my card and stop it opening. But with the leaves, I'm just going to pop that like so. And then the final leaf, I'm actually going to adhere that with a little bit of Tombow just on the bottom edge of that leaf, and just lift that up like so. Okay. All that remains is me to add my panel in to the inside of my card. And it looks like my Tombow is just about empty. But again, adding that layer to the inside just finishes the card off. And you could obviously add one of your sentiments, and there's some lovely ones in this one. And there we have our fun pair of spanner cards using the new Irresistible Blooms. If you like it, get yourself online and order it now. And please don't forget to use the host code. If you're choosing to demonstrate, I'd be very grateful. And if you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. And if you stay till the end, it'll direct you to some of my other videos. Fancy folds, I've got over 200 available, and a lot of those are unique folds that I've created myself as well. So do take a look and have fun creating. Bye now.